Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host Terry, and today we're gonna talk about the Bears. I had another sickness. I'm not sure what it was, but I had a really bad sore throat that got really bad yesterday, to the point where I couldn't talk. So everything was happening. There's a lot of Bears discussion. I just wasn't in the best place to talk, and today I'm feeling better, still not 100%, but I could talk. And after not being able to talk yesterday, I wanted to get on the mic. But, waiting for some time worked out, given that all the moves didn't happen right away. But we're gonna bounce through some of these topics, and it's tiring, man. But it is what it is. I think, for whatever reason, this is just a side note. For whatever reason, maybe this is how radios work. I don't know. That's not my expertise. But I was in Chicago last weekend. I don't remember exactly what day I was there. But I was in Chicago anyway. So I'm listening to good old ESPN 1000, which I don't usually get down here. And so since I left Chicago, I've been getting it. I've had it in certain areas. It'll switch over to another channel, but I can listen to it for the most part whenever I'm driving around. And since I'm in on breaks and I've been sick, I kind of, I haven't been at work, so I'll be at home while I go drive around. When I'm going to the store, whatever, I listen to it. Plus, I just downloaded an app. Like I never really thought about it because I usually listen to YouTubers music. But I just downloaded an app. I just been really into the local radio because that used to be my thing when I lived in Chicago that whole time, and so I missed that. It's weird to see exactly how many shows are the exact same. Like everybody is still there. I've been going out of Chicago for 5 years now. So anyway, point being, I've been listening more to what's going on the local scene, and then I'll probably keep doing that just to give me a different perspective of what's going on. But I say that to say that I'm sure that even if I was on Waddle and Sylvie or 670 The Score or any of these shows talking, you're never gonna reach everybody. I mean, to be honest, I think Ryan Poles probably couldn't even reach everybody. I guarantee if Ryan Poles did a podcast, it wouldn't reach all Bears fans. It's just how it is, and because of the way the internet and society is set up today, people are just going to flock to what they want to listen to and what they want to hear. So I try not to overthink it, but it gets so annoying reading just the vast amount of opinions. A lot of them, most of them uninformed. It's just people have like dug a hole in camp Justin Fields, or they dug a hole in camp Caleb Williams, and just they're not going to listen to anything. No matter what is said, there's going to be an excuse thrown out to discredit what happened or what people were claiming. And that reminds me of a funny picture someone posted on Twitter. I meant to repost in the community. I'm going to do that. But that picture is very true. But anyway, that's the nature of the beast. And so I try, but it gets tiring. But as I said previously, I'm very excited and hopeful we never have to be in this position again. I mean, it would be silly to say this, like I know, but I'm gonna say it. I almost hope that if we do trade the first pick or whatever trade we make, that we do not get another team that goes, in full disaster mode and gets the first pick again. Because I don't want to keep doing this. Even if we won the Super Bowl and we had a team's pick that was the first overall pick, we're going to be back in the spotlight talking about this again. I just don't want to do it anymore. I hate it. Like, the fans are worse. I'm the worst. The fans are bad enough by themselves. I don't need the national media on this discussion. So anyway, with all that being said, let's get into the meat and potatoes of it. So number one, we'll start at the top. It looks like Eberflus is coming back. Now I don't know. I mean, it's probably true. I'm just putting myself in the shoes of the decision makers. You got a very interesting year. Um, First of all, Vrabel became available, like freely available, unexpectedly, I think. And then you have Belichick potentially becoming available. And Sean Payton wasn't the first coach to be traded, but I really think that's opening up a new door because before Vrabel was fired, quote unquote, the reports were that they would listen to trade offers. And that's the same thing being talked about Belichick. So I do think trading for coaches is going to start becoming a thing. So there's that. But then, of course, you got the coaches that are in the playoffs. So, and you don't really know how that's going to shake out, to be honest, because there's some very, I mean, borderline situations because this is a weird year in general. And again, with the stupid 7 seed, it's a weird year with the teams that have gotten into the playoffs. I mean, even still, like, so the Jags were leading the division, doing a pretty good job. And then they have a kind of a fallout, if you want to call it that. And now they're not in the playoffs. And then they fired their DC. So now, is that a DC that you want? I mean, that's a guy that was part of a defense taking a team to almost 10 wins, but then a collapse happened. Is that collapse really on him? And if he were in the playoffs, would he then be coveted a little differently? So then you got that. Then you got the Steelers, who everybody feels like Steelers and Packers. They feel like the coordinators suck, but yet they make the playoffs. Like, does that change their availability? Does that change their, like, do people want them? Like, it's a lot of weird situations. You got the Giants DC that resigned, but they're trying to get them back. And so I just, for me, I wouldn't personally, I would not sign up for anything right now. Then, of course, you got the hardball of it. We'll get to that. But I wouldn't sign up for anything right now. Like, I would have the interviews, the exit interviews. I would have the end of the year discussions, all that. I would listen to Eberflus we discuss, but I wouldn't sign up for anything personally because there's too many options out here. But that's assuming that your mind is open to going in a new direction. And as I talked about before, I mean, there's a couple things. I've talked many times about firing coaches early, overreacting, all that. I also told you that I didn't think Eberflus was a head coach. Now, the only thing that I can say to that in support of Eberflus is that you would hope you get better with time. That doesn't always end up being the case for everybody, but that's the hope. And so recognizing that while I don't think he's shown that ability in these 2 years, that doesn't mean that he can't get better at it. I mean, because, it's one of those things. It's like, you can only get this entry level job if you got experience. Like, how am I getting experience if I like, doesn't make sense? So it's one of those things. I get that. So I have to give some grace to say that he could get better. But as it currently sits, what he has to do as a head coach, he hasn't been great at. And funny enough, the thing that everybody is like using to support him is his ability as a D coordinator, which for the life of me, I can't understand. I would beg somebody to explain it to me because I see it so many places. Like, again, if it's a pros cons list, whatever argument, people say it so naturally and so matter of factly that Eberflus can call a good defense. That's a pro. That was a pro when you hired him. That is why he got hired. Like, did I miss something? I mean, because there's very few hires in the NFL that aren't just, oh, you were a good coordinator, so now you're a head coach, which again, I think is stupid. And I've always said that. And so, but that's the way it is. So I don't understand why people treating it differently with Eberflus. Like, that's why you got hired. And so, and this is a side note that doesn't even really have to do with the Bears, but the Chargers and Brandon Staley, like the national media gets on him, and he should have been fired, no doubt. But the national media continues with the narrative. You're an offensive minded guy, so you only know offense, and you're a defensive minded guy, so you only know defense. So that means the defense is bad and you're a defensive guy. What are you even doing? And I get that logic, but just to say, Brandon Staley was hired not because he was an amazing coordinator. The defense was good. Some people said defense wasn't good when he was with the Rams. That's not true. But that wasn't why he was hired. If you remember correctly, and I remember it, he was hired because he was a hybrid, because he was a guy that played, because I'm pretty sure he was a quarterback or something like that. But he played offense and he grew up coaching both. And so he was hired because he was kind of a guy that knew defense, but he was also supposed to teach Justin Herbert. So anyway. But Eberflus wasn't one of those. He was a typical hire. Hey, you're a good coordinator, so now you're a good head coach. And so when that happens, it confuses me when people are surprised that they know how to do what they were hired as for. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, so back to the point, like with Eberflus again, and that if you feel that you might want to go in a different direction, I wouldn't say tear it down because we've already been torn down. Now we got the assets. But if you want to go in a different direction in terms of a leader and everything, I understand, because in these 2 years, again, Eberflus hasn't shown that he's great at the head coaching part. So that makes sense to me. I just don't see a world where you're fully bought in that Eberflus is the guy. And again, it's nothing against him, because that's what this turns into. Like, because of the internet, people want to make memes and use gifs and tell jokes and just like really go after a person that they don't know at all. And so that's not me at all, especially with Eberflus. I think he's shown to be a pretty chill dude. I don't know him, but I have no reason to go after him with vitriol. I just think that again, the head coaching position is a different position. While everybody seems to think it's a glorified coordinator job, it is nothing about coordinating, which is why I don't care to pick the next hot coordinator to be head coach. I don't care, that they're young and they're this and that. No, it is about who can lead an organization, who can structurally lead an organization, who can build something, who can teach, who can lead. It ain't about, can you coordinate a game plan? Can you coordinate a practice plan? Can you coordinate an off-season plan? Can you coordinate a preseason plan? Can you push the right buttons to get can you identify the key players? Can you figure out how to push their buttons so that they get the team going? Can you figure out how to push the right buttons on your coaching staff to get them in the spots they need to be? Like it is very little about the X's and O's. It's very little about it. And people don't seem to get that. And they seem to just throw these coordinators away. And again, the funniest part of the cycle to me is when they come right back 2 years later. Oh, this guy's having a great year as the D coordinator. This guy's having a great year as the offense coordinator. He should be a head coach again. Like, what? The system is so broken, it makes zero sense. Being a good coordinator has nothing to do with being a good head coach. But anyway, not trying to travel down that path. My point is, I don't know that I've seen enough in Eberflus where you could sufficiently convince me that I should sell in on him. More so, if it was me sitting in that seat, I'm waiting to see what my options are. If you want to believe some reports, Kevin Warren had options, and let me say this as another side note: I hate the structure. I personally hate the structure. There's a lot of ways you can structure any organization, that's fine, but I don't believe in GM over head coach. That's silly. I definitely don't believe in a middle manager between the owner and the GM and the head coach. I don't like that either. Like, if you want to pull the Commanders, I don't even, what's his name, Josh Harris, whatever. If you want to pull one of those where I have an advisory committee where these are the people who have my ear, that's fine. A cabinet, a presidential cabinet, whatever you want to call it. That's cool. But I don't need another layer of a person making decisions. Like, it's already too many layers. We don't need to corporatize a football team. Like, it's pretty simple everywhere you go. The athletic director on the non-pro level is responsible for getting you the resources and making sure you're in compliance and all that, so that you can do what you can't or what you're supposed to do as the head coach. That's really what a GM should be acting as, alongside the head coach. And then the owner obviously has whatever say they have. And so that's what it should be. But the extra layer, I'm not a fan of that. But if you believe the reports, Kevin Warren has already had a list of coordinators that he thinks are potential targets, whatever. And so I just feel like if you're at that point, then pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. You know what you got in Eberflus at this point. And if you don't, you either... Really, it's only one option. If you don't know what you got at this point, you don't know how to evaluate correctly. Because looking at a record and stats is not going to tell you. If you've been in the building like you're supposed to for 2 years and you don't know how this guy leads and you can't project how this guy will lead, then you're not good at evaluating. So at that point, you need to move on. You need to move on. I don't know is a no. And I don't mean that as in you didn't show me enough. I mean that more so in this case that you don't know, you didn't evaluate them correctly. You don't really have a good grasp on them, but we don't have time to figure it out. Let's move on. Now, if there's a case for him to stay, I would have to hear it flat out. Now, if I couldn't get Vrabel, he wasn't interested. If Harbaugh's not interested, if things don't work out the way you hoped, then yeah, I could see a way where he stays. But honestly, he's not my first choice. I guess that's the roundabout way of saying that. And again, I'm not against him like a lot of people are. It's just for me, like I said, I told you a while ago, I just don't think he's head coach type guy. So that's it for me. So Getsy gets fired. And some other people, whatever, I don't care. I do realize that I've come off like I'm defending Getsy. And I've said before, that's not really the point of it. The point is your evaluations and conversations as fans have been completely off. They are completely off. And so to even discuss what someone is when you don't even know how to evaluate it becomes difficult for me. And so to listen to people make claims, because you could swing the claims either way, especially when there's ignorance. Like, you could swing the claims either way, no matter what it is. It could be just a third down call, it could be a one game, it could be a 6-game stretch, it could be a season. um Again, people dug in their holes and camped Justin Fields. They're gonna swing it right against Getsy. See, he didn't know, like the play everybody kept showing. Part of me wanted to go find a play and really break it down, but I'm not about to. Like, it's a waste of my time. People ain't gonna listen. Like, people gonna believe what they want to believe. Like I said, the info is just neutral these days. Even though the info could be true and objective, it's neutral. People gonna treat it as neutral because depending on what camp I'm in, I'm gonna take that information and swing it the way I want to swing it. So the truth of the matter is, as I said, the real truth is the part that's not entertaining and nobody wants to hear. We don't know. If you put a gun in my head, my answer is truly I don't know. Because, and I say that, and I always say, there are thousands of decisions made a day, and the amount of combinations in which something can go, and you're not a part of it, how could you ever truly evaluate anything and say it's this person's fault? So part of me wants to just go along with the mainstream surface level. It's your title, so it's your fault. Okay, if that's the way I want to look at it, cool, that's fine. We fired Getsy, he was the problem. Voila, it's all gonna get fixed. No. You said the same thing about Nagy and their people. You said the same thing before Nagy. We gonna say the same thing about the next guy. It is what it is. Like, at some point, there's going to become a time where they're going to get blamed. It's just going to happen. Ben Johnson has to be one of the hottest names right now as an OC for the Lions. And I seen it happen to him this year. Baltimore game, anything. And all in an instant, all that genius, all that hype and hoopla, oh, you don't know how to coach football. It happens just like that. So it's going to happen. The next guy, it doesn't matter what the offense looks like. They're going to blame him for something. And especially if you get, now this isn't going to happen because we're not in position to get a beloved quarterback. Because either Justin's going to come back and the Justin camp is going to get deeper in the hole, and the anti-Justin camp is going to get deeper in their hole, or we do bring in Caleb or a different new quarterback and the same thing's going to happen. But let's just say we're Cincinnati and we got Joe Burrow, a beloved quarterback, and so the new guy comes in and does great. They're going to be like, yeah, the quarterback did that. The quarterback did that. That's what's going to happen. And anything bad, the OC did that. He sucks. Like, the Bengals is a good example. Actually, you see how much they've done and accomplished. And I wouldn't say never, but I don't see a lot of teams that are successful, even successful with a backup, and still have the offensive staff ridiculed as much as that. Not even that. Some people said the OC for the Bengals is being, pushed out as one of those hot names. Again, another weird situation. Bengals not in the playoffs. You can go get that guy right now. But on top of that, Zach Taylor, the head coach who actually calls the plays, he gets ripped. He gets ripped all the time. Nothing positive is ever because of him. It's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow goes down. Jake Browning comes in. It's the OC. Like, it's crazy. People will pick whatever narrative they want, and that's how the info is going to get swung. So That's why like all this Getsy has to go. We gotta get this new guy. Whoever the new guy is about to get ripped. So I don't even care. I've seen it for over 5 years now. Um 5 years straight of fans just completely using narratives and complaining, don't really know what they're complaining about. So anyway, yes, I think I know for a fact that I would need a lot more information to truly tell you what Getsy is, but in terms of just blanket, here's the Bears situation, I get it. We got to get a new offensive coordinator. Now, a lot of people say if you bring back Eberflus, you have to bring back Fields, whatever. To me, I almost feel like if you gonna get rid of Getsy, you might as well get rid of Fields. He was just part of the problem as well. The idea of, because I hear all the time, well, we're a coordinator that understands you can move the launch angles and the launch points. Like, what are you talking about? Every single thing people, now this is what I should do, but I'm not about to spend the time. I got a lot of stuff to do. But every single complaint people have about Getsy is on film. He's done it. Oh, he doesn't do rollouts. Yes, he has. And never forget the Denver game where they rolled out, did a bootleg rollout, and everybody complained. How could you run a bootleg rollout? And because Justin got hit and fumbled, that was insane. Oh, he doesn't run quarterback-driven runs. Yes, he did. Oh, we don't run the ball. Yes, we do. Oh, we haven't. There's never any deep shots. Yes, there are. Now, timing and stuff like calling screens in certain times and all that, absolutely. Every single coach has those bad moments and those bad calls. And again, I'm not saying he's great, but the evidence as to why he's bad is very weak. And to be honest, it's almost just as indicting on the players as it is the coach. So to me, I feel like if you're gonna fire Getsy, well, we definitely should get rid of Fields in that case. But obviously, that's not how people gonna look at it. But Getsy is gone. Either way, you got a new system coming in. So I don't know, man. I think for me, I landed pretty firmly on moving forward from everybody. And people say tear it down. I don't see it as a tear down. Like I said, you get you a veteran guy who is ready to come in and work. And again, this is the perfect year. I done laid out so many examples. You have so many actually good coordinators that are available right now, not in the playoffs. And then you have good coaches that are coming out of their situation. And so for me, I mean, I named you three already. If you found out today the Bears negotiated with Vrabel, got him the deal, and then he went and got the Bengals OC and Wink Martindale from the Giants as the DC, and they talked to the current staff and they're going to keep certain people or whatever and fill it together, and then we're going to pick a new quarterback and then continue to plan on. That ain't no tear down. That ain't no tear. It's a rebrand, but it ain't no tear down. I mean, because I do think the philosophy of a head coach is, I mean, I want to say think. I know. If you don't watch Hard Knocks, if you've never been in a building, if you don't know any NFL players, if you don't know any college players, same thing college. If you haven't been around that, you won't understand. But it is very true. It's not just lip service. That's why I always laugh at firing head coaches in the middle of the season. Again, unless it's a toxic situation. Because head coaches spend so much time building in that philosophy and their culture. Like is physical. There's tangible artifacts. Now I'm getting into my doctorate bag, but there's tangible artifacts that you can feel, the way they design the locker rooms and the stuff they put up on the walls, the quotes and all that. There's the key words and phrases that everybody in a good culture, everybody's using those key words sounding like the head coach. There's ideas and thoughts about how we approach certain things. All of that takes time to build in. All of that comes from the head coach down, which is why GM being the head coach's boss is stupid. But anyway, that takes a lot of time. So my point being that I do get, if you move on from Eberflus, you have to reinstall a new culture and philosophy. But in terms of the football mechanics, it's not a teardown. The roster is going to be better either way. Like, because Poles made the roster so bad 2 seasons ago, it only going to get better. And so you lock up long term a true edge rusher. You got draft capital. Like, the roster's going to get better. You got cap space. So in that situation I laid out for you, do you really think that would be a teardown? To me, that'd be a massive upgrade. And so then we didn't even talk about the quarterback yet. So that's not what the Bears are going to do. It doesn't seem like that's what they're going to do. And I think that part is sad. I think there's a lot of narratives that I don't pay attention to. One connection and relationship that I do truly believe is the GM and the quarterback. And so, and to a certain extent, the head coach, I think that's overblown, but I'm going to just say the GM and the quarterback. So you had a chance to align this up for the first time, to really align this up for Ryan Poles, if you want to look at it the traditional way, where he could pick the head coach and the QB, and they would come in at the same time, and it would be in alignment to whatever your philosophy is. And that's just not going to happen. I mean, Eberflus is coming back, which is the head coach that he quote unquote picked. But again, there's so many discussions about that. But I think truly, in my mind, if you were to move on from Eberflus and pick a new head coach, it would truly be Ryan's pick. But Eberflus is going to come back. Now, Eberflus, I don't know what his input is on the new quarterback. Again, I think that relationship is a bit overblown, but for what it's worth, you'll have him connected to a quarterback that he actually, was a part of the decision-making team, if that's the route they go. So there could be some alignment there, but I think that GM quarterback is a more real thing. And not even in a football sense. It's a real thing just in the operations sense in terms of contracts and everything. I was very surprised like that Ryan Pace was able to make the moves he did to go get Justin Fields. And then y'all knew Fields was going to sit most of the year. And so the team ended up not doing what they wanted it to do. And they fired Pace before you ever really got to figure out what this quarterback was. That shocked me. I would like to think I'd be more patient as an owner than these guys. But even if I wasn't patient, I could never really see myself clearing out a GM with the quarterback he just brought to the team. It just wouldn't make sense to me. I'm going to let you stay a few years because, yes, you brought that quarterback in. And then in most situations, I would probably get rid of that quarterback if I'm bringing in a new GM. I wouldn't even want the new GM, unless the GM just really liked that quarterback. I wouldn't want the GM to have to deal with that. So, yeah, the Bears, there's a lot of people talking about how bad we've been handling those situations. Definitely agree with it. And I think, let's just say we keep Justin Fields. That's an awkward relationship to me. We go and get a new quarterback. I think that's fine. Ryan Poles has some more time, but it seems like Eberflus doesn't have more time than next year. And so that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to make a coach be on the hot seat, don't bring a new quarterback in under that. And the issue is because then everybody's going to say, well, duh, bring Justin back. Don't even mess with that. The problem is, how many times you going to have the number one pick? The answer for us is 2 years in a row, but how many times are you going to get a chance at that? So I can't easily say just bring back Justin Fields. Plus, I don't believe we should. So it's a mess. Like, to me, the most clean way, to be honest, the cleanest way was probably to get rid of everybody. But the cleanest way to me was to keep Poles and get rid of everybody else. And again, that's no knock on Eberflus necessarily. It's not a knock to say you did, like, you. It's just you're better suited to be a coordinator. And if it wasn't awkward, I would love for you to be our coordinator, but we know you won't do that. So you keep Poles. He picks his quarterback in alongside this new head coach, a veteran, and we roll. Because people can say what they want about John Fox. You can say what you want. He made that team professional. And the average loss in his time with the Bears was less than 3 points. At one point, I think I did the math. So it's just like, you can say whatever you want about Fox. Oh, we tried the veteran head coach. The results was better than a lot of what we got. And more consistent. And now, I'm not saying get John Fox. That's a different type of cat. But there's other coaches out there that I think were better. And you already know, for me, I want Mike Vrabel. Like, that was like a alley-oop from heaven. Like, it can't get no more easier than that. He got put right there. I go full court press on him. But again, that's not what they're doing. So we talked about the head coach, the OC. Now it comes down to the quarterback. And of course, that's the big conversation we've been having. And it seems like they might bring back Justin Fields, whatever. I've already said my piece on all that. I will throw out this. I said it in the community, and I wanted to say it last time, but I didn't get it in there. There is the option that we keep Justin Fields and draft Caleb Williams or a different quarterback. That is a possibility. We could trade back, get another quarterback. If they think Caleb is as good as everybody. Now, the thing is, if you think Caleb is legit the type of guy people are saying, you might then say, okay, we want him, but we know other people really want him, so we could sell high. Now, obviously, the best case scenario is that, hey, we don't even like him that much, but we're going to sell high. But, either way, let's just say you really love Caleb Williams and you take Caleb Williams. You are missing out on a chance to get a haul. That's true. But now you got Caleb Williams. But let's just say they trade back, get a haul, and they take a different guy. And I'm talking about still top 10 here. The thing is, much like Cunningham, our vice GM, who could have been our GM, could have been other people's GM. We say, hey, come in. We'll bring you in under this title. And we know eventually you're going to leave. We'll get compensatory picks. But you're going to gain some experience on your resume while you're waiting. And we benefit from having you around. Very similarly, they can bring in this quarterback and say, hey, Justin, you get a chance to build on your resume, continue to audition for other teams, because we know we're probably not going to keep you, and you probably don't want to be here long term. But we're going to do right by you. You can build up your resume, everything. They don't need to. Justin doesn't need to mentor this quarterback. Justin's on like 20 something. But this quarterback can then watch, at least see the organization, at least see the NFL and everything like that. What makes it even better to me is you got Bagent. Now, I don't know why he wasn't active the last game. I didn't pay attention to all that. But Bagent, to me, and you can't tell me otherwise, he's a top 5 backup in this league already. And he should only get better. So I think having Bagent makes this plan even more feasible, because say Justin gets hurt or has to leave early, or like not leave, but we get a good deal for him really early in the season and we trade him, or he refuses to play, whatever. I think having Bagent makes it even better. Now, granted, it'll be a new system because Getsy's gone, but I believe Bagent will still be able to support and step in if need be. So I think that makes it even better, because you have a third quarterback on your roster guaranteed that you know is solid. So I'm not saying this is the way I would go, but it's a possibility that no one brings up, because it's like, we're not going to pass up on a Hall. We're not going to pass up on elite, quote unquote, elite position players to get a quarterback, and we're not going to pass up on draft capital for Justin Fields. Yeah, we could. And to be honest, Justin Fields' trade value could be better than what it is today. And so I don't think that's what's going to happen, but we got to throw that out there as a potential. So one thing I'll say, or I'll ask, since we keep Eberflus and we get rid of Getsy, does that give any sign towards more Fields or trading or whatever? And I'm asking this in real time, so I'm kind of formulating it together. But if I just had to say off the top of my head, from an outsider's opinion, I think bringing back Eberflus and getting rid of, honestly, like I said, getting rid of Getsy to me should mean you're getting rid of Fields. But bringing back Eberflus does feel like you are bringing back Fields more. Not like 100%, but it would put me 60% on bringing back Fields. But getting rid of Getsy, that makes it a little iffy for me. If they would have brought everybody back, yeah, that would have been strong, heavy 80% bringing back Fields. But getting rid of Getsy to bring in another coordinator, so the offense is going to have to start from scratch, unless there's going to be some innovative here, which I don't trust the Bears to do. And by innovative, I mean, first of all, I don't know why, but I have to explain this every time. Football coaches are kind of smart at football. They know more than just the one thing. You know, it's kind of like a guy who coaches O-line. They don't make them OC and say, hey, you can only talk to the O-line. No, you got to know all the parts. So when I just want to put that out there before I say this. So they could sit down with Eberflus, Holes, Kevin Warren, whoever, and they can decide the type of offense they want to run. And they can build out what it is they want out of an offense. And then they can go out and look for a guy to fulfill those needs. That's not unheard of. It's more common than people think. And I already know that the response is, well, Eberflus is the defensive guy. How in the world could he know what offense to look for? Like, it's so, so stupid. So anyway, that they could do something like that. And I'm talking about other minds too. If you want to bring in I don't even know who's on the streets these days, but a lot of former coaches, you want to bring those guys in, or even some current coaches or current GMs like that you are cool with, and you want to get them on a Zoom and talk like, what concepts are you excited about these days? What do you think is hard to defend? Like, what do you think has been successful for you? And they can formulate the important parts of what they want the offense to be. And so again, I don't trust the Bears are doing that, but they could. They could be doing that. And then that way, when you go out for this OC, I mean, you still gonna have to build it up from scratch. But to me, I feel like and again, it'd be different if you knew from the very beginning Eberflus was coming back. But as of today, you know he's coming back. We spending the next 2 days building that out. What is your offensive philosophy? A head coach, any coach, should have a philosophy for the whole team. It ain't just one side, one thing. It's the whole team. Building out truly what is a philosophy we can agree on. And then that way we can at least have some type of preparation for our players of like, be thinking of this. Now it's the off season, the very early off season. So it's not like you're going to be building offense right now. But I'm just saying there could be some innovative ways to get ahead of that, but I doubt the Bears are doing that. Last thing I'll say, this irked me. DJ Moore, after the last game, mentioned, we could do more explosive plays. And I know what he meant, and I'm gonna assume he's good on this, but for my fans here, because I heard this on radio. I heard this so many places. People, an explosive play is something you do. It's not something you call. Like the amount of people I heard say Getsy doesn't know how to call explosive plays. Getsy doesn't have explosive plays in his playbook. What are you talking about? An explosive play is something you do. It's not something you call. If I call whatever 42 dive, like old school stuff, I don't care. Who's the top dog? Let's just say Nick Chubb. He's hurt, but he's the top dog. Let's just say we call an outside zone for Nick Chubb, and he takes it for 70. In the next drive, we call the exact same play, and it's negative 2 yards. Is that no longer an explosive play? Hey, you didn't call an explosive play. You didn't tell me to make it explosive, so I lost yards. What? An explosive play is how the offense executes the play you call. That's why we call it an explosive play. That play that happened was explosive, not the play design. I can't. This is what, when people do stuff like this is what makes me think they really just don't know football. So, again, Getsy's fired and all that, that's fine. But the way people were discussing this, it was so wrong. It makes my head hurt. Anyway, good note to end on. Thank you for listening. Go down to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Get the conversation started, share it around. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.